Taman felt the rough ground scraping against his back. His head pounded like someone was hitting it with a hammer. Everything hurt. His arms, his legs, his chest. Even breathing made his ribs ache. He kept his eyes closed and tried to stay still. Something was dragging him through the forest. He could hear voices talking in a language he did not know. The voices sounded like women, but different. They spoke in a way that made his skin crawl. The thing dragging him had long fingers. Very long. Much longer than human fingers. The grip was strong, too strong. Whatever was pulling him could crush his arm if it wanted to. Taman remembered the crash. His research ship, the New Soul, had been studying this planet for 3 days. The planet looked safe from space. Green forests, clean water, normal air. Perfect for humans. But something had gone wrong with the ship's engines. Fire everywhere. People screaming. Then everything went black. Now he was being dragged somewhere by things that were not human. The voices got closer to his head. One of them leaned down near his ear. Her breath was warm and smelled like meat, old meat. "Don't scream," she whispered in perfect human language. "It makes the meat tough." Taman's blood turned cold. His heart started beating so fast he thought it might explode, but he forced himself to stay still, to keep breathing slowly, to pretend he was still unconscious. The thing dragging him laughed softly. "This one smells different from the others, Kael'thas. Stronger. Maybe he will last longer in the hunt." "Good," said the voice near his ear. "This must be Kael'thas. The elders are getting bored with prey that dies too quickly. They want a real challenge." Taman wanted to open his eyes and see what these creatures looked like, but he knew that would be a mistake. If they thought he was awake, they might kill him right now, or worse. He focused on what he could learn without looking. There were 10 of them, all female voices. They moved through the forest like they owned it. No fear, no caution. They talked about hunting like other people talked about dinner plans. The ground under him changed from dirt to stone. They were walking on some kind of path now. The air smelled different too. Less like forest, more like cooking, and other things. "Bad things. How long since the last good hunt?" asked one of the voices. 2 months, Kael'thas answered. "The Zalari we caught last time barely ran for an hour before giving up. No sport in it at all." "These humans might be different," said another voice. This one sounded younger, less sure of herself. "The stories say they are clever," Kael'thas laughed. It was not a nice laugh. Stories. Every species thinks they are special. These humans will run and hide and die just like all the others. The only question is how long they will amuse us first. Taman learned something important from that conversation. These creatures had done this before. Many times. They hunted other intelligent species for fun, and they had never lost. But Taman was not like other prey. He was a xenobiologist. He studied alien life forms. More important, he had grown up on Earth's colony worlds, harsh places where humans had to be tough to survive. His father had taught him to hunt, to track, to live off the land. His mother had taught him to think, to observe, to understand how other creatures behaved. The dragging stopped. Taman heard a heavy door opening. Metal on metal. Then they were inside somewhere. The air was warmer here. It smelled like the den of a large predator. They dropped him on a soft surface, some kind of fur or hide. Now he could hear more voices. Older voices. These must be the elders Kael'thas had mentioned. "What do we have here?" asked an old female voice. 3 humans from the crashed ship, Kael'thas reported. "This one seems to be in the best condition. The other 2 are badly injured. 3 humans. That meant Hana and Dongwu might still be alive. Hana was the ship's engineer. Dongwu was their pilot. If they were alive, there was hope." "Excellent," said the elder. "It has been too long since we had a proper hunt." "Are they awake?" "Not yet, but they will be soon." "Good. Take them to the preparation chambers. Let them rest and heal. We want them at full strength for the hunt." Taman felt those long fingers grab him again. They carried him through more corridors. He heard water dripping somewhere. The sound of cages. Other sounds he did not want to think about. They put him in a small room and left him alone. Taman waited a long time before opening his eyes. The room was dim, lit by some kind of glowing fungus on the walls. It was clean but felt like a prison cell. There was a bed, a water source, and some kind of food. Everything a prisoner would need to stay healthy. These creatures wanted their prey in good condition for whatever they had planned. Taman got up slowly. His body hurt, but nothing seemed broken. He was lucky. He went to the small window and looked outside. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. It was the most beautiful and terrifying place he had ever seen. A vast arena carved into the forest itself. Trees grew in perfect patterns. Streams ran in channels that looked designed, not natural. Bridges connected different levels of the canopy. It was like a giant maze, but made of living forest. And scattered throughout the arena, Taemin could see bones. Lots of bones. From many different species, this was where they hunted their prey. Movement caught his eye. One of the hunters was walking across a bridge far below. Taemin got his first good look at what had captured him. She was tall, maybe 7 feet. Her body was thin but strong, like a dancer or a fighter. Her skin was pale green and seemed to shine in the dim light. Her hair was long and white. But it was her face that made Taemin's stomach turn. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. Like a human woman, but wrong. Her eyes were too large and completely black. Her mouth was too wide, and when she smiled, he could see rows of sharp teeth. She moved like a cat, smooth and silent. Every step was perfect. She was designed to hunt and kill. Taemin watched her for a long time. He studied how she moved, how she looked around, what caught her attention. This was valuable information. His life might depend on understanding these creatures. A sound made him turn away from the window. The door to his cell was opening. A young huntress came in carrying a tray of food. She was smaller than the others, with shorter hair. She looked nervous. "You are awake," she said in human language. Her accent was strange but understandable. Taemin nodded. "Yes, I am Silara. I brought you food. You need to eat and get strong." "Why?" Taemin asked. "So I can run better when you hunt me?" Silara looked uncomfortable. "It is our way. We are hunters. You are prey. But we give you a fair chance. You will have time to run and hide before we come for you. How is that fair? You know this place. I don't." "All prey gets the same chance," Silara said. But she did not sound convinced. Taemin studied her face. This one was different from the others. Less confident. Maybe even a little bit sorry for what they were going to do. "Have you ever been hunted?" Taemin asked. Silara looked surprised. "No. We are the hunters." "Then you don't know what fair means." She left quickly after that. But Taemin had learned something important. Not all of these creatures were the same. Some of them might have doubts about what they were doing, and doubt was something he could use. Taemin ate the food and drank the water. He would need his strength for what was coming. While he ate, he planned. These creatures thought they were perfect hunters. They thought humans were just another type of prey. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Morning came too soon. Taemin woke to the sound of his cell door opening. Kael'tha stood there with 2 other huntresses. They looked excited like children on a holiday. "Time to begin," Kael'tha said. "Are you ready for your hunt, little human?" Taemin stood up slowly. His body still hurt, but he felt stronger after eating and sleeping. "I suppose I don't have a choice." "Everyone has choices," said one of the other huntresses. This one had scars on her arms and face. "You can run or you can stand still. You can hide or you can fight. You can live for a few hours or die in the first minute." "How generous," Taemin said. They led him through the corridors of their underground home. The walls were covered with trophies from old hunts. Skulls, claws, teeth, pieces of armor, and weapons. Hundreds of different species had died here. But Taemin noticed something else. Between the trophies were empty spaces, gaps where other trophies used to hang. These hunters had not always won. Some prey had fought back and hurt them badly enough that they removed those reminders. They brought him to a large chamber filled with huntresses. Maybe 30 or 40 of them. All tall, all pale green, all deadly looking. They watched him with black eyes that showed no mercy. An old huntress sat on a throne made from bones. Her hair was completely white and her skin was darker green than the others. This had to be their leader. "I am Nyxandra," she said. Her voice was like gravel. "I have been hunting for 300 years. I have killed prey from 50 different worlds. Today you will join them." "Maybe," Taemin said. "Maybe not." The huntresses laughed. It was not a friendly sound. "Brave words," Nyxandra said. "Let me explain the rules. You will be released into our hunting grounds. You have 12 hours before we begin tracking you. In that time you can go anywhere you want within the arena. You can hide, you can run, you can try to escape. But the walls are too high to climb and the gates are locked." She smiled, showing her sharp teeth. "After 12 hours, the hunt begins. We will track you down and kill you. If you survive for 7 days, you win your freedom. In 300 years, no prey has ever lasted more than 3 days. What about my friends? Taman asked. The other humans. They are still healing. But do not worry. They will get their chance to play our game very soon. 2 huntresses grabbed Timon's arms and led him to another door. This one opened directly into the forest arena. Sunlight poured in, momentarily blinding him. When his eyes adjusted, Taemin saw the hunting grounds up close. It was even bigger than it had looked from his cell window. The forest stretched for miles in every direction. Rivers, hills, caves, bridges connecting the trees. It was beautiful and terrifying. Your time starts now, Kael'tha said. Use it wisely. The door slammed shut behind him. Taemin was alone in the hunting grounds. He did not run immediately. That would be a mistake. Instead, he stood still and observed. The forest looked natural, but it was designed. The trees grew in patterns that would create good hiding spots and good hunting lanes. The streams flowed in ways that would force prey to cross open ground. Every part of this place was built to help the hunters and hurt the hunted, but design meant rules. And rules could be broken by someone who understood them. Taemin started walking, not fast but steady. He moved toward the center of the arena, studying everything. The types of trees, the plants growing on the ground, the insects flying around. All of it was information he could use. After an hour of walking, he found what he was looking for. A pile of bones hidden under some bushes. These were not trophies displayed for the hunters to admire. These were the remains of prey that had tried to hide in this spot. Taemin studied the bones carefully. Different species, different sizes. But they all had one thing in common. Bite marks on the skull and neck. The huntresses killed quickly, but only after playing with their prey for a while. More important, some of the bones were broken in ways that had nothing to do with teeth. These prey animals had tried to fight back. They had used rocks, sticks, anything they could find as weapons. Most had failed, but a few had succeeded in hurting their hunters. That was encouraging. It meant the huntresses could be hurt. Taemin continued exploring. He found more bone piles, water sources, caves, and high places where someone could see long distances. He also found something the huntresses probably did not expect him to notice. Traps. The arena was full of hidden traps designed to catch fleeing prey. Pits covered with branches and leaves. Snares hanging from tree branches. Patches of ground that would collapse under weight. The huntresses had spent a long time making this place perfect for their games. But Taemin grew up on colony worlds. He knew about traps. More important, he knew how to use them against the people who set them. As the hours passed, Taemin formed a plan. He could not outrun these creatures. They were faster and stronger than humans. He could not hide from them forever. They knew every inch of this forest. But he could do something they would not expect. He could fight back, not with strength or speed, with intelligence, with planning, with the one thing humans were better at than any other species he had ever studied: adaptation. Taemin found a good spot near the center of the arena. A small hill with caves and multiple escape routes. He began to prepare his welcome for the huntresses. First, he needed weapons. The forest provided plenty of materials. Sharp stones, strong branches, vines that could be woven into rope. He spent hours making spears, clubs, and slings. Not advanced weapons, but effective ones. Next, he modified some of the existing traps. A pit trap became a weapon trap by adding sharpened stakes at the bottom. A snare became a tripwire connected to a falling log. The huntresses had given him all the materials he needed to hurt them. While he worked, Taemin thought about what he knew of predator behavior. Most predators were overconfident when hunting familiar prey. They followed patterns that had worked for them before. They did not adapt quickly to new situations. The huntresses had been successful for 300 years. That meant they would be very set in their ways. They would expect him to run and hide like every other prey animal. They would not expect organized resistance. As the sun began to set, Taemin heard a horn blow somewhere in the distance. His 12 hours were up. The hunt was beginning. He climbed to the top of his hill and looked out over the forest. In the growing darkness, he could see lights moving between the trees. The huntresses were spreading out to search for him. They moved in a pattern, like they had done this many times before. Taemin smiled for the first time since waking up in this place. They were following a routine. That made them predictable, and predictable enemies could be defeated. He had counted the lights. 10 huntresses, just like he remembered from being captured. They were moving in pairs, checking the most obvious hiding spots first. They would work their way toward his position slowly and carefully. Perfect. Taemin climbed down from the hill and moved to his first trap, a modified snare positioned along one of the hunting paths. He settled down to wait in the darkness. The huntresses thought they were hunting him, but Taemin had spent the last 12 hours turning their perfect arena into a weapon pointed at them. Now it was time to show them what happened when humans decided to hunt back. The first pair of lights was getting closer. Taemin could hear their voices carried on the night wind. They were relaxed, confident, talking about how quickly they would find and kill him. In a few minutes they would discover their mistake. Taemin gripped his spear and waited. The real hunt was about to begin. The first huntress died exactly how Taemin had planned. She was walking along the path with her partner, talking quietly about where the human might be hiding. She stepped on Taemin's modified tripwire and a heavy log swung down from the trees. The impact broke her neck instantly. Her partner screamed. It was a horrible sound, full of shock and rage. She had never seen one of her kind killed by prey before. "Mira," she cried, dropping to her knees beside the dead huntress. "No, this cannot be happening." Taemin moved silently through the darkness behind her. His spear took her through the heart before she could turn around. She fell forward across her dead friend, 2 down, 8 to go. Taemin dragged the bodies off the path and took their weapons. The huntresses carried long, curved knives and some kind of small crossbow. The knives were beautifully made but too big for his hands. The crossbows were more useful. Small, light, and deadly. He also took something else, a small device that looked like a communication tool. He could not read the symbols on it, but he could see lights that showed the locations of the other huntresses. This was even better than he had hoped. The second pair was investigating a cave system about a mile away. Perfect. Taemin knew that area well. He had spent 2 hours modifying the traps there. He moved through the forest like his father had taught him. Slow, quiet, always aware of his surroundings. The huntresses were faster than humans, but they were not more careful. They made noise when they walked. They talked to each other constantly. They used lights that could be seen from far away. They hunted like predators who had never been hunted themselves. Taemin reached the cave system and waited. The 2 huntresses were inside, searching the tunnels with their lights. He could hear their voices echoing off the stone walls. "The human could not have come this far so quickly," one was saying. "Kael'tha thinks he might be hiding near the water," said the other. "Prey always needs water." They emerged from the caves and started walking toward the river. Taemin followed them, staying in the shadows. When they reached the spot he had prepared, he threw a rock into the bushes on the far side of the path. Both huntresses spun toward the sound, raising their weapons. As they moved, they stepped into Taemin's pit trap. But this was not the original trap. Taemin had made it deeper and added sharpened stakes at the bottom. The huntresses fell 12 feet onto spikes made from broken tree branches. One died immediately. The other was badly wounded, crying for help. Taemin looked down at her from the edge of the pit. "Your friend cannot help you," he said quietly. "Just like you could not help the prey you have killed here." He used the crossbow to end her suffering. 4 down, 6 to go, but now the others would know something was wrong. 2 hunting pairs had stopped reporting. Soon they would find the bodies and realize their prey was fighting back. Taemin checked the communication device. The remaining huntresses were moving differently now. Instead of spreading out, they were coming together in one group. They were scared. Good. Fear made people make mistakes. He moved toward their position, but carefully. 6 huntresses together would be much more dangerous than pairs. He needed a different strategy. As he traveled through the forest, Taemin heard something that made him stop. A human voice calling for help. It was coming from a different part of the arena, far from where the huntresses were gathering. Hana. It had to be Hana. Taemin changed direction, moving quickly but quietly toward the voice. He found her trapped in a cage hanging from a tree. She looked hurt but alive. "Taemin," she whispered when she saw him. "Thank God. I thought they had killed you." "Not yet," he said, climbing up to open the cage. "Are you badly injured?" "My leg is broken, but I can move." "Where are the others? Where is Dongwu?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find him." Taemin helped her down from the tree. "Can you walk?" "Slowly." What happened to our guards? I heard screaming. I killed them. Taemin's voice was calm, but Hana looked shocked. She had known him for 2 years. He was a scientist, not a killer. You killed them? How many? 4 so far. 6 more to go. Hana stared at him. Taemin, what have they done to you? They showed me what they really are, he said. And I showed them what humans can become when we have to. They moved through the forest together. Hana was an engineer, and even with a broken leg, she could help him improve his traps and weapons. She understood mechanical systems better than anyone he knew. This place is designed like a machine, she said as they walked. Every part serves a purpose. The rivers channel prey into killing zones. The caves have only one exit. The bridges can be cut to trap someone on the wrong side. Can we use that against them? Maybe, if we can get to the control center. There's a control center? Hana pointed toward a tall tower in the center of the arena. I saw it from my cage. There are lights up there, and I could hear machinery. If this place is designed, someone has to operate it. Taemin looked at the tower. It was tall and surrounded by open ground. Getting there would be dangerous. But if they could control the arena's systems, they might be able to turn the Huntress's own weapons against them. They were interrupted by the sound of voices nearby. The remaining 6 Huntresses were moving through the forest, calling to each other. They had found the bodies of their friends. Zephyra is dead, one voice cried. It was Kael'tha. She sounded furious and scared. The human killed her with our own traps. This is not possible, said another voice. Prey does not hunt us. We hunt them. Tell that to Mira and Silthara, Kael'tha snarled. The human is not acting like prey. He is acting like what? There was a long pause. Like one of us, Taemin smiled grimly. They were beginning to understand. But understanding would make them more dangerous, not less. We stay together now, Kael'tha ordered. No more hunting in pairs. We find this human and we kill him slowly. He will pay for what he has done. What about the other humans? Asked a younger voice. After we kill this one, he is the dangerous one. Taemin and Hana hid in a thick patch of bushes as the Huntresses passed nearby, all 6 of them together, moving like a military unit. Their overconfidence was gone. Now they were treating him as a real threat. That was both good and bad. Good because they were scared and making defensive decisions. Bad because 6 opponents working together would be much harder to defeat than 6 individuals. When the Huntresses were gone, Taemin and Hana continued toward the tower. Along the way, they found more traps to modify and more weapons to collect. Hana was brilliant at understanding how the arena's systems worked. She showed him hidden mechanisms, secret passages, and weak points in the structure. Whoever built this place was very smart, she said. But they made one mistake. What mistake? They designed it to contain prey, not to keep out predators. All the defenses face inward. If someone could get to the control systems, they could turn everything around. They reached the base of the tower as dawn was breaking. The Huntresses were somewhere behind them, tracking their trail. Soon they would catch up. Taemin looked up at the tower. It was tall and smooth, with no obvious way to climb it. But Hana had found something interesting. There's a maintenance elevator, she said, pointing to a hidden panel in the tower's base. It's locked, but I think I can open it. While Hana worked on the lock, Taemin prepared their position. He set up his remaining traps around the tower's base and positioned his weapons where he could reach them quickly. If the Huntresses caught them here, this would be their final battle. The lock clicked open. Got it, Hana said. The elevator is small, but it works. They rode the elevator to the top of the tower. The control room was everything Hana had hoped for. Screens, switches, and instruments that monitored every part of the arena. From here, they could see the 6 Huntresses moving through the forest toward their position. Can you operate this? Taemin asked. Hana's eyes were bright with excitement. Give me 10 minutes. I can turn this entire place into a death trap for anyone who doesn't know the new patterns. Taemin watched the screens as the Huntresses got closer. You have 5 minutes. They're coming fast now. Hana's fingers flew over the controls. Lights began flashing throughout the arena. Hidden doors opened and closed. Water began flowing in new directions. The hunting ground was changing, and only they knew how. There, Hana said. Now we're the hunters and they're the prey. The 6 Huntresses had reached the base of the tower. They were looking up, trying to figure out how to reach the control room. As they stood there arguing, Taemin activated one of Hana's modifications. The ground under their feet opened, dropping them into a pit that had not existed minutes before. But these were experienced hunters. They were injured but not defeated. Now what? Hana asked. Taemin picked up his crossbow and checked his remaining weapons. Now we go down there and finish this. The pit trap had not killed the huntresses, but it had hurt them badly. Taemin could hear them moving around down there, helping each other climb out. Some were injured. All of them were angry. This is impossible, Kael'tha was saying. How did the ground open like that? The arena does not change during a hunt. It does now, Hana said from the control room. She was working at the screens, learning how all the systems connected. I can make any part of this place move however I want. Taemin watched the huntresses through the tower's windows. They had climbed out of the pit and were looking for a way up to the control room. But Hana kept changing the tower's configuration. Stairs appeared and disappeared. Doors opened in walls and then sealed themselves. The huntresses could not find a stable path upward. They're getting frustrated, Taemin observed. Frustrated people make mistakes. Good. Because I found something interesting in these systems. Hana pointed to one of the screens. This isn't just a hunting ground. It's a prison. There are other creatures being held here, lots of them. Taemin looked at the screen. It showed a map of underground areas he had not known existed, dozens of cells each containing a different species. The huntresses had been collecting prey for years, keeping them alive until they were ready for a hunt. Can we free them? I think so. But are you sure that's a good idea? We don't know what these creatures are like. Some of them might be dangerous to us too. Taemin thought about it. Then he remembered the whisper in his ear when he first woke up. Don't scream. It makes the meat tough. These huntresses had been torturing and killing intelligent beings for centuries. Whatever was in those cells had to be better than that. Free them, he said. Anyone who has been a prisoner here is an enemy of the huntresses. Maybe they'll help us. Hana started opening the cell doors. On the screens, they could see creatures of all shapes and sizes emerging from their prisons. Some ran immediately. Others stayed and looked around, trying to understand what was happening. A few began moving toward the tower. The huntresses saw them coming too. Kael'tha was shouting orders to her remaining warriors. Form a circle. Back to back. Do not let them surround us. But the freed prisoners were not interested in fighting. They were interested in escaping. Most of them headed straight for the arena's walls, looking for a way out. That gave Taemin an idea. Can you open the main gates? He asked Hana. I think so. Why? Because those creatures have families and friends who probably want to know what happened to them. If word gets out about this place, the huntresses will have bigger problems than just us. Hana found the gate controls and activated them. The massive doors that sealed the arena began to swing open. For the first time in centuries, there was a way out of the hunting grounds. The effect on the freed prisoners was immediate. They began streaming toward the gates in large groups. But some of them stopped and looked back at the tower where Taemin and Hana were trapped. One of the creatures, something that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird, began climbing the tower wall. It moved like a gecko, using claws to grip the smooth surface. Others followed its example. We're about to have company, Taemin said. The first creature reached the control room window. It was about the size of a human, with intelligent eyes and hands that could use tools. It tapped on the window and made gestures that clearly meant, let me in. Taemin opened the window. The creature climbed inside and immediately began making sounds. Not random sounds, but patterns. It was trying to communicate. Hana listened carefully. I think it's trying to say thank you. More creatures climbed into the control room. Different species, but all of them seemed to understand that Taemin and Hana were the ones who had freed them. They brought gifts, weapons, tools, food, things they had hidden from the huntresses during their imprisonment. One of them, a tall creature with 4 arms and gray skin, approached Taemin directly. It spoke in broken but understandable human language. You free us, it said. We help you. Huntresses killed many of our people. Time for justice. Can your people fight? Taemin asked. We survived in the cells for years. We know how to fight. Below them, the huntresses were in chaos. They were surrounded by dozens of freed prisoners. Some were trying to escape. Others were demanding answers. A few were looking for revenge. Kael'tha was still shouting orders, but her warriors were scared now. They had never faced this many enemies at once. Their perfect hunting ground had become a trap for them instead of their prey. The young one is different, said the gray-skinned creature, pointing down at the huntresses. She helped some of us sometimes, gave extra food, showed mercy. Taemin looked where he was pointing. It was Silara, the huntress who had brought him food in his cell. She was standing apart from the others, not fighting, just looking confused and frightened. What about the others? No mercy. They killed for pleasure. Made us watch as they tortured our friends, that settled it. Taemin turned to Hana. Can you seal the arena? Keep the huntresses inside while the prisoners escape? Already done. The gates will stay open for anyone leaving, but they'll close if the huntresses try to get out. Perfect. Now they could deal with the huntresses properly. Taemin and his new allies took the elevator down to ground level. The huntresses had gathered in a defensive circle near the tower's base. 5 of them now. One had been trampled by escaping prisoners. Keltha saw Taemin approaching and raised her weapon. You have turned our sacred hunt into chaos. You will pay for this dishonor. Your sacred hunt? Taemin laughed. You call torturing innocent people sacred? You call murder a hunt? We are predators. You are prey. This is the natural order. No, said the gray-skinned creature. This is not natural. Natural predators hunt for food for survival. You hunt for pleasure. You are not predators. You are monsters. The other freed prisoners who had stayed to fight moved in closer. The huntresses were outnumbered 10-1 now. Their perfect confidence was gone. For the first time in their lives, they knew what it felt like to be prey. Please, Silara said suddenly. She dropped her weapon and stepped away from the other huntresses. I do not want to fight anymore. I am tired of killing. Kael'tha spun toward her. Traitor, you would side with prey against your own kind? My own kind does not torture children, Silara said quietly. My own kind does not kill for entertainment. Maybe it is time to find a new way to live. That was the breaking point. One of the other huntresses tried to attack Silara for her betrayal. The freed prisoners rushed forward to protect her. The battle was brief and brutal. When it was over, 3 huntresses were dead. Keltha was badly wounded but alive. Silara was unharmed, surrounded by creatures who had once been her prey but now protected her. What happens now? Silara asked Taemin. Now you learn, he said. You learn that intelligence is not about being the best killer. It's about working together, helping each other, building something better than what came before. Taemin looked around the arena. Most of the prisoners had escaped through the open gates. They would return to their home worlds with stories of what had happened here. Word would spread. Other species would learn about the huntresses and their cruelty. But more important, they would learn about something else. They would learn that sometimes prey fights back. Sometimes the hunters become the hunted. Sometimes monsters can be defeated by people working together. Hana came down from the control room. I've been in contact with the outside galaxy using their communication systems, she said. Help is coming. Ships from a dozen different worlds. They want to make sure this place is shut down permanently. And they want to thank the humans who ended 3 centuries of murder, added the gray-skinned creature. Your people will be remembered as heroes. Taemin looked at Silara. She was young and she was learning. Maybe there was hope for her people after all. What will you do now? He asked her. I want to come with you, she said. I want to see how other species live. I want to learn about cooperation instead of hunting. That won't be easy. Your people have made many enemies, I know, but I have to try. Someone has to show them that there is a better way. Taemin nodded. It was a start. The sound of engines filled the air. Ships were approaching. Ships carrying representatives from all the species that had lost people to the huntresses. Justice was coming to the hunting grounds at last. But for Taemin, the real victory was not the end of the hunts. It was the beginning of something new. A chance for different species to learn from each other instead of destroying each other. A chance to turn predators into partners. The hunt was over. The real work was just beginning. 3 months later, Taemin stood in the same arena where he had almost died. But everything was different now. The hunting grounds had been transformed into something new, something better. Where bone piles once marked the deaths of countless prey, gardens now grew. The freed prisoners had planted seeds from their home worlds, creating a memorial that celebrated life instead of death. The streams still flowed, but now they powered generators that provided energy for the new settlement. The settlement. That had been Silara's idea. We cannot just abandon this place, she had argued 3 months ago. Too many died here. We should make it into something that honors them. Now the former hunting ground was home to representatives from dozens of species. Scientists, teachers, engineers, doctors. They had come to study, to learn, to build bridges between worlds that had been enemies for centuries. Taemin found Silara in what used to be the control tower. She was working with Hana and several other engineers, designing improvements to the settlement systems. Her pale green skin was covered with small scars from their escape, but her black eyes were bright with purpose. "The water purification system is working perfectly," she reported when she saw him. "Dr. Kim's modifications have made it twice as efficient as the original design. And the communication array? Operational. We can now reach any world within 50 light years. The former prisoners are sending messages to their families letting them know they are alive." Taemin nodded. It still amazed him how quickly Silara had adapted to cooperation instead of competition. She learned from everyone, shared knowledge freely, and never tried to dominate conversations or decisions. In many ways, she had become more human than some humans. "There's something I want to show you," she said, leading him to one of the tower's windows. Below them, the main courtyard was full of activity. Creatures from a dozen different worlds were working together on various projects. A group of the lizard bird people were teaching youngsters how to climb safely. The gray-skinned, four-armed species was demonstrating advanced metalworking techniques. A family of small furry creatures was sharing their knowledge of plant biology. But what caught Taemin's attention was a group near the center of the courtyard. Young huntresses. Not Silara's generation, but even younger ones. They were sitting in a circle, listening to stories told by former prisoners. "They came here last week," Silara explained. "They heard rumors about what happened and wanted to see for themselves. Their parents tried to stop them, but they came anyway." What did they think of all this? At first they were horrified. They could not believe that prey species could build something so beautiful. But then they started listening to the stories, learning about the families that were destroyed, the cultures that were damaged. They began to understand what their people had really been doing. One of the young huntresses stood up and approached an elderly member of the gray-skinned species. She said something that made the old creature smile and pat her on the head. "She just apologized," Silara translated, "on behalf of all her people. And she asked if there was anything she could do to help repair the damage." Taemin felt something he had not expected when this all began. Hope. Real hope for the future. "The Huntress Council is furious," Silara continued. "They have declared me and the others here to be traitors. They say we have betrayed our nature. What do you think?" "I think we have found our nature. Real predators adapt to changing conditions. They do not cling to old ways that no longer work. The universe is changing, and we can change with it or be left behind." A soft chime sounded through the tower. Hana looked up from her work. "That's the arrival signal. The Earth delegation is here." Taemin's heart jumped. This was the meeting he had been waiting for. Representatives from Earth and several human colony worlds were coming to see what had been accomplished here. More important, they were coming to discuss the future. They took the elevator down to the landing platform that had been built where the main gates used to stand. A sleek ship was touching down, bearing the symbols of the Human Colonial Alliance. When the doors opened, a familiar figure stepped out, Admiral Lee Jinwoo, Taemin's uncle, a man who had spent his life protecting human settlements from alien threats. Seeing him here, in this place that had once been dedicated to hunting humans, felt like a miracle. "Taemin," the Admiral said, embracing his nephew. "When we got your first message, we thought it was some kind of trick. A human defeating the Velnari huntresses? Impossible." "Not defeating them," Taemin corrected. "Teaching them. There's a difference." Admiral Lee looked around the settlement with amazement. Former predators and former prey working side by side. Children of different species playing together. Technology being shared freely between worlds that had been enemies for generations. "How did you do this?" he asked. "By showing them that cooperation is stronger than competition. That building something is more satisfying than destroying it. That intelligence is not about being the best killer, but about finding ways to avoid killing at all." Silara approached them, moving with the careful grace that all huntresses possessed. But where her ancestors had used that grace to stalk prey, she used it to avoid disturbing the small creatures that now lived in the settlement. "Admiral Lee," Taemin said, "I would like you to meet Silara. She was one of my captors. Now she is one of my closest friends." The Admiral studied Silara carefully. As a military officer, he knew what the huntresses were capable of. But he also recognized sincerity when he saw it. "Your people killed many humans over the centuries," he said. "Yes," Silara replied, "and I am ashamed of that. I cannot bring back the dead, but I can help prevent future deaths." I can teach my people that there are better ways to live. And if they don't want to learn, then they will be left behind while the rest of the galaxy moves forward. Admiral Lee nodded slowly. Your nephew has told us what you've accomplished here. It's impressive, but there are many in the human government who are not ready to trust your species. I understand, Silara said. Trust must be earned. I am prepared to spend my life earning it. The Admiral's delegation included scientists, diplomats, and military advisors. They spent 3 days touring the settlement, interviewing residents, and studying the new technologies that had been developed through interspecies cooperation. On the final day, they gathered in the main courtyard for a ceremony. Representatives from all the species in the settlement were present, along with many others who had traveled here for this moment. Admiral Lee stood before the crowd. 3 months ago, this place was a symbol of hatred and cruelty. Today, it has become a symbol of hope and cooperation. The Human Colonial Alliance is prepared to support this settlement and help it grow into something even greater. The crowd erupted in cheers. But the Admiral was not finished. We are also prepared to offer something more, a new treaty, open to all species who wish to join, a treaty based on the principles that have been proven here, cooperation instead of competition, building instead of destroying, learning instead of conquering. Taman felt tears in his eyes. This was more than he had dared to hope for. But the biggest surprise came from an unexpected source. A ship landed on the platform, bearing the symbols of the Velnari Huntress Council. When the doors opened, Nixandra stepped out. The ancient huntress who had ruled the arena for 3 centuries. The crowd fell silent. Many of the former prisoners moved protectively toward their children. But Silara stepped forward to meet her former leader. Grandmother, she said. Taman had not known they were related. Child, Nixandra replied. I have come to see what you have built. Are you here to destroy it? I am here to understand it. Nixandra walked slowly through the settlement. She saw former prey species teaching huntress children. She saw technology being shared freely between former enemies. She saw gardens growing where bone piles once lay. Finally, she stopped in front of the memorial wall. The names of all the victims of the hunts were carved there, in the languages of their home worlds. Thousands of names, thousands of lives cut short for the entertainment of her people. I did this, she said quietly. For 300 years I told myself we were maintaining the natural order. That we were superior beings with the right to hunt lesser species. I was wrong. She turned to address the crowd. The Huntress Council has voted. The traditional hunts are ended forever. Any huntress who wishes to continue the old ways will be exiled. Those who wish to learn new ways are welcome to come here and study. The crowd was stunned. This was the most dramatic change imaginable. The most feared predator species in the galaxy was abandoning its predatory nature. Why? Asked one of the former prisoners. Why change now after so many centuries? Nixandra looked at Taman. Because a single human showed us that true strength comes not from the ability to kill, but from the ability to transform enemies into friends. He defeated us not with weapons but with ideas. He showed us that intelligence is not about hunting prey, but about creating partnerships. She turned to Silara. You were right to follow him. You found the path our people should have taken long ago. As the sun set over the settlement, Taman found himself on the observation deck of the former control tower. Hana joined him there, along with Silara and several other friends from different worlds.